General Hospital spoilers, Michael brings up the deal at Drew's funeral. Willow is left in shock. The sound of church bells echoes across Port Charles, signaling the beginning of a farewell no one was ready for. Drew Kane's death has left ripples that spread far beyond his immediate circle, touching nearly every resident of the town. Yet, it isn't only grief that weighs heavily on the mourners. There are secrets, hidden alliances, and betrayals that threaten to unravel in the very place meant for final goodbyes. And when Michaelbrings chooses that moment to bring up the deal Drew made before his untimely death, the atmosphere at the funeral shifts from sorrow to shock. What follows is a layered tale of heartbreak, revelations, and confrontations that will shake Willow to her core and redefine the Corinthos and Quartermain families forever. The morning air carries an eerie stillness as Port Charles residents file into Queen of Angels for Drew's funeral service. Quartermain's Corinthoses, and even those who once opposed Drew come together under one roof. Monica Quartermain, frail yet determined, holds onto Tracy's arm. The matriarch insists on paying tribute to the man who once carried her son Jason's memories, only to forge his own path of honor and sacrifice. Sam McCall struggles to hold herself together. Though her romantic chapter with Drew ended long ago, their connection as Scout's parents binds them forever. Ned, Brooklyn, and Olivia offer quiet strength, keeping an eye on Leo, who doesn't fully understand why Uncle Drew isn't coming back. Carly stands slightly apart from Sunny, her face a careful mask. She and Drew had shared not just business dealings, but also a bond of trust, one deepened by their secrets. Willow, pale but composed, clutches Michael's hand. She sees him as her rock, unaware that the man she depends on is about to change the tone of the entire service. Even Sunny Corinthos keeps a low profile, respecting Drew despite the uneasy history between them. But beneath Sunny's cool demeanor, he senses that something is brewing, something Michael has kept close to the vest. The priest begins the ceremony, recounting Drew's bravery, a Navy SEAL, a loyal friend, a father who fought for Scout, a man who sacrificed again and again. Tears flow freely, and memories wash over the congregation like waves. But as the service moves toward the eulogies, Michael feels a knot in his chest tighten. Michaelbrings has always been torn between two worlds, the mob empire he was born into and the corporate power of Yelku. Drew's death only amplifies that divide. For weeks, Michael has wrestled with whether to reveal what Drew entrusted him with, a deal forged in secrecy, one that now threatens to explode in public. The deal in question involved Yelku and Aurora Media, a merger that was supposed to strengthen both companies while shielding them from Valentine Cassidy's schemes. But Drew had also made side arrangements, agreements with outside investors and silent partners that Michael knew nothing about until Drew's personal papers landed in his lap. And buried in those papers? A shocking clause. Drew had tied his corporate legacy to Michael's promise: protect Willow and Scout at all costs, even if it meant sacrificing his own interests. In other words, Drew left Michael with a moral obligation and a secret bargaining chip. Now, standing in front of his wife, his family, and half the town, Michael knows he can't keep it hidden anymore. The eulogies begin with heartfelt tributes. Sam speaks first, her voice breaking as she remembers Drew's courage and his endless devotion to Scout. She promises to raise their daughter with Drew's values: honesty, bravery, and kindness. Ned follows, praising Drew's business acumen and his ability to unite the family, even when the Quartermains tore each other apart. Carly adds her piece, speaking with raw emotion about Drew's loyalty and the risks he took for her during the SEC investigation. She admits, "I wouldn't be standing here if it weren't for Drew." Finally, the priest gestures toward Michael. It's his turn. Michael hadn't planned to say much, just a few words about Drew's role as a father figure, a brother, a protector. But as he steps to the pulpit, the weight of Drew's secret presses harder. Looking out at the mourners, his mother, his father, his wife, his siblings, Michael makes a fateful choice. Michael begins softly. Drew wasn't just my uncle, my partner, or my friend. He was someone who carried a burden most of us can't imagine. He lived a life filled with sacrifice, always putting others before himself. And even in death, Drew is still protecting us. The congregation murmurs, curious. Michael takes a deep breath. Before he died, Drew made a deal he wanted me to uphold. A deal that changes everything for this family, for Yelku, and for all of us. Gasps ripple through the church. Monica clutches Tracy's arm tighter, while Ned furrows his brow, already dreading what Michael is about to reveal. Michael continues. Drew secured Aurora and Yelku in a way none of us realized. He left behind documents, agreements, and conditions. And in those papers, he made one thing clear. His legacy isn't about profit or power. It's about family. He made me promise to keep that legacy alive. And to do that, I have to tell you all the truth. The silence is deafening. Willow's eyes widen, her hand slipping from Michael's grasp. Michael reveals that Drew's deal involved not only protecting Scout's financial future, but also a stipulation regarding Willow and Wiley. If anything happened to Drew, Michael says, voice trembling, he wanted me to safeguard Willow and Wiley's place in this family. He tied their future directly into Yelku. He made sure that no matter what happened, they could never be shut out. That was his final gift to us. Willow freezes, stunned. She had no idea Drew had taken such measures. Her gratitude is mixed with confusion and fear, because the way Michael words it, it sounds like Drew left control in Michael's hands. And in Port Charles, power over Yelku has always been dangerous. Tears stream down Willow's face as she whispers, Michael, why didn't you tell me? The question isn't just about the deal. It's about trust, honesty, and the cracks forming in their marriage. Chaos erupts in the church. Ned demands to see the paperwork immediately, furious that Michael would spring this revelation at a funeral. Tracy faints from the shock, forcing Brooklyn and Olivia to rush to her side. Carly looks both horrified and intrigued, knowing the revelation could shift power back into the Corinthos-Courtemain alliance. Sonny, though outwardly calm, gives Michael a warning glance. He knows what it means to weaponize secrets, especially in public. But it's Willow's reaction that cuts the deepest. I thought we were in this together, she says, her voice trembling. I thought we shared everything. How could you keep something like this from me? Michael reaches for her, but Willow pulls away, her grief compounded by the sense of betrayal. As the mourners spill out of the church, whispers fill the air. Everyone wants answers. Behind the scenes, however, another bombshell looms. Drew's deal wasn't just about Yelku. Tucked within his documents is a clause involving Jason Morgan. Drew had quietly arranged for Jason to receive certain assets if anything happened to him, assets that could either rebuild Jason's life or drag him back into the mob. Michael knows this, but hasn't revealed it yet. And Willow begins to suspect that her husband is still keeping pieces of the puzzle hidden. That night, back at the Courtemain mansion, Willow confronts Michael privately. I can't keep doing this, she says, her voice breaking. Every time I think we've found peace, another secret comes out. You said you wanted to protect me, but what you're really doing is deciding for me. That's not protection, Michael. That's control. Michael tries to explain that Drew put him in an impossible position, that he only wanted to honor his uncle's wishes. But Willow shakes her head. You honored Drew, but you didn't honor us. The words cut deep. Michael realizes he may not only lose control of Yelku, he may lose Willow, too. The fallout spreads across town. Ned and Tracy scramble to secure Yelku, fearing Michael's new leverage. Carly wonders if this revelation will give her a new opening in business. And with Jason, Sam worries about how this impacts Scout, realizing her daughter's financial future is now entangled with Michael's decisions. Sonny warns Michael, you just painted a target on your back. Drew's enemies will come looking, and they'll come for Willow too. The stage is set for new battles, corporate, personal, and possibly deadly. Willow spends sleepless nights thinking about Drew's sacrifice and Michael's choices. The funeral that was supposed to honor Drew has instead exposed fault lines in her marriage. And though Michael insists he only wanted to protect her, Willow is left questioning everything, his motives, his loyalty, and whether their marriage can survive when built on so many secrets. In the end, Drew's legacy is not just about Yelq or Aurora. It's about the choices his death forces others to make, the promises they keep, the truths they reveal, and the bonds they may break forever. And as Port Charles reels, one thing becomes painfully clear. Drew may be gone, but his presence will haunt every decision Michael and Willow make from this day forward.